It is refreshing that quite a number of private members' bills and motions have been put forward by parties in the opposition, including the Social Democrats and Sinn Féin and People Before Profit and Solidarity, and ourselves in the Labour Party. I feel like I've made a number of speeches on these issues on a number of occasions in this House and indeed in the Convention Centre, and that is something that I think is to be welcomed. Minister, as has been said, there is an absolute correlation between the fact that our economy was underpinned by poverty pay. 23% of Irish workers statistically in low pay, OECD statistic, and 40% of young people in insecure work. There's a direct correlation between those two statistics and the fact that we have collective bargaining regulations in this country that give employers a veto. It has been described by the trade union movement as being able to join a golf club without being allowed to play golf. And I wish government would understand this. There is a direct link between poverty pay, poor pay, exploitation, vulnerable work, and the lack of trade union rights or collective bargaining rights. They are linked. They are absolutely linked. And that's why we will continue to bring forward motions about sick pay, about insecure work, about poverty pay, about low pay, and about collective bargaining. Now, again, your party leader, as has been said, became leader of Fine Gael on the basis that he thought we should restrict the rights of industrial action for essential workers. And then, a period of time later, he's leading the cheers for those same essential workers when it's proven how important they are. Now, we don't have to have these adversarial over and back debates in this House. We really don't, between government and opposition. We don't have to drive a wedge between us to play panto villain and panto hero when it comes to the issue of workers' rights. Because what's at stake is so important. People going to work on the basis that they're worried they might lose their jobs, even if they're sick. We don't have statutory provisions in this country which other European countries take for granted. One of only 5 European countries that don't have sick pay. So we will absolutely be supporting this bill. It may be imperfect, Minister. I know government ministers are handed scripts from civil servants and from the AG's office that poke holes in things. But I think government has to understand that trade unionism is good. It's good for living standards. It's good for business. It's good for the economy that workers are protected and empowered in their workplace. It's good. And we can't go back to an economic model of so many workers being so poorly paid and being so vulnerable. It was my intention coming in tonight to do just exactly what Deputy Gary Gannon has done and spoken so eloquently in this motion, given what we are speaking about, to speak to Fergus McCabe and his legacy. I spent time in the North Inner City, and Fergus McCabe was the type of man that you never wanted to lose his trust. And if you ever lost the trust of somebody like Fergus McCabe, you knew that you were doing something wrong. And Fergus had an interest in everything. He had an interest in music, he had an interest in football, one of the founder members of Belvedere, a Spurs fan. Wouldn't it be wonderful if a former Belvedere footballer and a current Spurs footballer, Matt Doherty, was to do the business tonight in Fergus's memory? There wasn't a cause that he ever gave up on. There wasn't an individual that he ever gave up on. He spoke passionately about the drugs issue for generations. He wrote the Gregory Deal 40 years ago. He still spoke as passionately this year as he did in the early 80s about housing, about employment, about drugs, about education, as Deputy Gannon has said, always with a glint in his eye, always close to having a chuckle on his lips, but always so articulate and forthright. It's his birthday this week. He was 71 years of age. And it breaks my heart to think that we've lost so many good, decent, articulate people in that part of the world who are speaking to a better future. He spent so much time with young people from immigrant backgrounds in more recent times, speaking to their reality and trying to find ways to empower them. So I think it's appropriate on a night like this that the National Parliament would hear of the memory of Fergus McCabe. We won't get a chance to go to his funeral. We won't get a chance to say these words in a church or in a place where we would normally do these things, Gary, but I think when somebody has been working so hard for those who need him so much for so many years, that Dáil Éireann is an appropriate place to speak of the name of Fergus McCabe. And I'm delighted that Deputy Gary Gannon did so, and I'm delighted to join with him to pay tribute to him.
Thank you, Deputy. I think we